form next week to start our November? Let's take a look.
I know it's the last thing anyone wants to talk about, but unfortunately, it's the reality. The good news is we're not expecting anything through the end of the month, but it's becoming more likely that at the beginning of November, we could be tracking something. The target area is the Caribbean. So again, if you see anything on social media saying, oh, this is going to be a big impact to the U.S. the first week of November, squash it. We are your trusted source here at Fox Weather. We're going to bring in all the conversations so you know what is fact, what is fiction, and what is truly possible.
It's so hard with social media out there. You hear so much, you see so much, you're like, what do I believe? Well, let's break down the scenarios for you, what we know so far, because we don't even have a storm. Let's put it like that. So there's still a long way to go before things actually come together. And yeah, we've got some forecast indications, but remember, that's going to change from time to time, especially this far out when we're looking at the first part of November. Favorable environment to start November is going to be right over the Caribbean, and we've got some warmer waters there. We right now have some stronger winds, but once we start to lose those, that'll help out. What about the steering mechanisms? That's going to be a big part in what happens with this, because it's still early to tell with this as well. You know, we've got that area of high pressure to the north. Where does that steer it? Does it keep it over portions of Central America? Just like we had with Nadine. Nadine did the same thing and then went over and lost its energy and became Christy in the Pacific. Yes, this would be one scenario we could look at. Another
scenario is that if something does develop the first week of November, it could pull across Cuba and go over the Caribbean islands. This would be similar to Oscar. Which we just had. So again, these are viable options that we do see that can happen. There is a third option where the dip in the jet stream over the lower 48 wiggles a little bit, and that allows for a pass that is closer to the Bahamas, and then you're getting pretty close to the U.S. mainland. Now, again, we don't even have a storm to track just yet. We just have enough model guidance that the confidence that something will pull together in the Caribbean is getting more likely. So we'll continue to watch it. As we get more clarity, we'll get closer. And of course, when we finally have a bona fide system to track, then we'll have an idea. The timeline, because that's key here. We're talking about the first couple days of November. So if you live in the southeast part of the U.S., it's good just to stay engaged in the conversation so you know what's going on. But again, right now, no reason to do anything, but every reason to be aware. We have a lot of warm water. So as long as the ingredients are present, you have to make sure that you're being responsible and looking at it.
For sure. And when we think about the amount of activity we've had across the South and Southeast this year, it's been very active for us. But let's also think about how close these storms would form and how close they are to land, just like Oscar and Nadine. So if they do form, as we saw, you don't have a whole lot of time, which is why it's important to stay with us, stay engaged in this conversation as we fine-tune the forecast moving forward.